Hello, everyone. Hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to this program, Read Your Bible Through in a Year. Today, we are on day 80. Yesterday, day 79, we heard about the introduction to the historical books in the Bible, right from Joshua through to Esther, how to remember them. So we have Joshua, then you have Judges, then you have Ruth, then you have First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings, then the First and Second Chronicles, then you have Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. So the 12 books. So how each one is divided, and we talked about various other informations about the historical. From today onwards, for quite a couple of months actually, at least a month or so, we will be concentrating on the historical books in the Bible. The first book being Joshua. So up until Deuteronomy, we saw about Moses leading the people of Israel. From here, Joshua takes over the command from Moses, and he leads the people of Israel to the promised land. So before we go into the details of today's reading, just a reminder, if you have not subscribed for this channel, please do subscribe, and also please ensure that you click on the bell icon so you will receive the notifications and reminders. And also there's a link on top right hand top corner of your YouTube channel, so if you want to go back and listen to my previous day teachings, you'll be able to see them there. Okay, today we are going to start from the book of Joshua. Today's readings will be first, second, and third chapters in the book of Joshua. And in the New Testament, we will be reading the last chapter, that is the chapter 16 from the Gospel according to Mark. So Joshua, the introduction, this book describes the conquest of the land of Canaan under the leadership of Joshua, Moses' successor. The theme of this book is victory through faith. That is what we read in chapter 1, verses 6 to 9. It's a victory through faith. Joshua's name means the Lord saves, or the Lord is salvation. Joshua had worked with Moses since receiving the 10 commandments at Mount Sinai. He served with Moses throughout the wilderness. We read that from Exodus chapter 24:13 onwards, and become a strong leader who was full of faith and courage. Joshua and Caleb were in favor of conquering the land of Canaan, despite the height and the aggressive nature of the people there. We all read that the people of Israel don't wanted to go because they were scared of the giants and things. And consequently, they were the only two of their generation that God permitted to enter the promised land. We read about that. No one else of their generation, even Moses, was not allowed to go. Only Joshua and Caleb, because of their faith. We read that in Numbers chapter 14, 20, 30, 38, Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 35 and 36. We read everywhere that Lord promises again and again, only Joshua and the Caleb are the only people who can enter the promised land. The book of Joshua describes the conquest of the land that God had promised to Abraham. In Genesis chapter 15, verses 18 to 20, we read the promise given to Abraham. Joshua began by attacking the few key cities, that is the Jericho and Ai. That's what we will be reading in the first few chapters, and by breaking up dangerous coalition among the Canaanites. In Joshua 10, we will be reading about that. The conquest of promised land under Joshua, however, was not complete. The Israelites continued to encounter resistance after they had settled in the land. In accordance with God's plan, it was left to the individual tribes to displace the Canaanites from their remaining strongholds. So each of the tribes had to deal with their own enemies in their territory. So the first chapter, we read about the Lord's command. Chapter 1, verses 6 to 9, it is basically God telling Joshua that it's a leader, the victory is only through the faith. So he tells them, then you will prosper. He gives be strong and very courageous. We know these verses very well. And also Joshua's name has been changed from Hoshea. The original name of Joshua, just to give you an introduction, his name was changed from Hoshea. It's not Hosea, it's Hoshea, Hoshea, in Numbers 13:16. He had been previously commissioned by God to Moses as a successor. In Numbers 27, we read that he's been commissioned as a successor. The commission includes instruction to ask for answers from God through priests. He can't ask decisions from God directly, but only through the priests. On this occasion, however, in chapter 1, we see the Lord answer him directly. And also in chapter 1 verses 3 to 6, we read the physical nature of the promised land, where the promised land would be. So this is what we read in chapter 1. In chapter 2, Joshua sends two spies actually, and they hide with Rahab. So the Rahab, you know the story of Rahab, who hid the spies, and how she let them down through a purple rope and everything. And chapter 3, we read about crossing the Jordan, how the Jordan will be split, and how the priests have to carry. The Lord did not stop flowing the Jordan River until the priests' feet were actually in the water, requiring them to exercise the faith. So until the priests actually took the tabernacle and stood on the river Jordan, it was not. The swollen condition of the Jordan River at that time of the year emphasized the power of God's Israel faith. So it was at that time everyone knew that Jordan was in flood. But nowadays, as you know, Jordan is a very deep valley, but nowadays it is diverted to cultivation, and you don't see so much of flow in that. And that is what we read in chapter 1, 2 and 3 of Joshua. And coming to the New Testament, we will be reading the last chapter of the book of Mark, chapter 16. So here we read about the resurrection, and the command of Jesus: go into all the world and preach the good news. It's in no way does this verse establish the baptism as a condition necessary for salvation. It is merely the declaration that those who believe and are baptized are saved. Any act of obedience to the Lord could be added after expression whoever believes, and it would remain a true statement. It should be noted that when Lord added, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. So there is no mention of baptism in identifying what would bring about condemnation. Jesus did not say that whoever believes but is not baptized shall be saved. If a baptism were necessary for salvation, there are many significant verses which should be mentioned to be read. Okay, you are saved through faith and baptism. It is clear that faith in Jesus Christ is what saves a person. Again, we read this condition in Acts chapter 16. So the word saved is translated in the Greek word as sesomenio, which is a perfect passive. It means the salvation took place at some point in the past. So this is just a generic about that brings an end to our reading about the Gospel according to Mark chapter 16, and we finished Gospel of Mark, and from tomorrow we will be starting to read from the Gospel according to Luke. So thank you very much for tuning in, and have a nice day, and I hope you're staying blessed. Stay blessed, stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.